going to Ascot. Day 1 of Royal Ascot. What a way to start. Like the Queen Anne, Coventry, King Stands, and James's Palace. Like, it's just unbelievable, isn't it? Go on, Nicola, we'll start with you. How do they bet for the Queen Anne?
Well, the Queen Anne is wide open this year. So Le Brevido, who ran a good race in the Lockinge, 4-1 favourite, and if he wins it well, he could definitely set the tone for the week with O'Brien and Ryan Moore. Mustachery, who of course won the race that day, has been quietly backed throughout the week, is now 5-1 second favourite. He's a very versatile horse and wouldn't put anyone off backing him. Barney Roy is in their third favourite at 6-1, but just his performances aren't as good as they were back in 2017, so I'm not sure he'll be good enough on the day. You've got Lawrence, who I think at 13-2, she'll be one of the big threats to the favourite. She was a runner-up at Newbury, and I think she can improve from that day and go on further here. Everything looks ideal for her in terms of the track will suit her, the ground, and the connections seem very bullish about her chances. Then maybe at a bigger price, Accidental Agent's in there at 10-1. He shaped very well at the start of the season at Newbury, and I just think this has been the target for a long time.
I suppose the rain is going to be a factor as well, isn't it? I mean, what do you make of that, Jan?
Well, Nicola read out about 12 horses there in the list, and the only horse she said couldn't win is the horse I actually fancied,
Okay.
which is Barney Roy, because I just don't think these are any good.
Yeah.
I think they're all much of a muchness. I think if you ran the race 10 times, there'd possibly be 6 or 7 different results. And I think with Barney Roy, he probably isn't as good as he was.
Doesn't really need to be, does he?
That past CV is pretty spectacular. And in France, when the gap did finally open, I thought he did well to win. Now, he looked a bit quirky passing the line. He kind of jumped the winning line. But even the performance at Ascot on his return, Zaki has won since. I just think he's better than these. And there is question marks, but I think he is the most likely winner. I think La Bravado is probably the second most likely winner. For all that he's been disappointing, I'd say he's been just trained with one race and one race only in mind this year, and that is the Queen Anne. I thought he ran well in the Lockinge, so it would be Barney Roy just ahead of La Bravado for me.
Probably the only thing about Barney Roy, doesn't have great form on soft ground. Probably the
Yeah,
only
I don't think it's going to be that soft. I think they're given quite warm weather next week. Whether it'll
First 2 days, apparently the sun shines out, the sun will be shining, and then it rained towards the end. That's what I.
Crap. What about you, Jiggy?
Yeah, I was thinking good to soft ground for the Tuesday.
Just like Cheltenham, it's fine.
Yes.
Good to soft on the Tuesday, standard.
Good to soft, of course, the straight mile track in Ascot. The right test this, which might suit Hazapur, who I've had a small bet on anti-post, and I still think the 10-1 is fair. I agree with David. There's definitely scope for something to step up here. He's a horse who's hurt himself throughout his career by not settling. You remember how well he travelled in the Derby. He travelled like the best horse.
Frankie.
And he gets first time Frankie. I still think there's some juice in that 10 when he settled.
Frankie rode him in the Derby.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if he just attempts to jump out, Frankie style, because you kind of know he probably gets 9-10 furlongs, don't you? And it's going to be a strong pace.
It'd be interesting because they
Lawrence
finally got him to settle. I think they'll be happy to
sit
drop
behind
it.
Lawrence.
Yeah, and get him to settle and then come out and use his stamina up the hill.
Okie doke. Right, what about the Coventry, Nicola? Do we have betting for that?
We do. Arizona is the favourite at 7-2. Looks the one to be with, and is the leading. How many has O'Brien got in the race? He's got a good few as always. But after winning at the Curragh by 8 lengths or whatever it was, went straight to the head of the betting. There was also a few eye-catching runs at the Curragh. The Threat is in there at 5-1, and then Vicinari, who looked very good at the Guineas weekend at Newmarket, is in there at 5-1. I think it's a tricky enough one, but Arizona was most
quick Coventry selection.
Arizona, but the clock watchers and the likes of James Willoughby, they have been purring about this. Visionary, I think the quote was possibly the best juvenile performance in the last 10 years, which is an incredible stat. Yeah, and I know the Godolphin horse that finished second is highly regarded, was beaten at a very short price first time out, so that's interesting. But I thought Arizona was pretty spectacular at the Curragh.
Yeah, what do you make of it, Jiggy?
Yeah, they really are. It'd be interesting to see how this Visionary goes in the betting, because you would imagine Willoughby's crowing about it, but he always goes on about how much a peak effort takes out of a horse. And he's backing up 10 days after putting up this monster run on debut. There has to be a worry that Visionary doesn't back up.
Yeah.
I was half interested in one called Royal Lytham. He's currently 16-1, but I'd rather wait and back him and say.
I was there.
He was really good in Navan.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the golf course there for a second. You was
no.
Here we go again. This is worse than Melbourne.
No.
Go on.
You'd be well able for Lytham, though, wouldn't you? You're a handy golfer.
Not too bad, yeah.
He is. He's a really good golfer. He just plays it down.
I know. And
Me, do I play anything down?
which isn't a bad strategy. There's handicapping involved there, Tom, as well.
Yeah,
Not
well,
that each,
you know.
But anyway, this Royal Ascot, I don't know if he's going to run because the only horse Aidan is confirmed for the race is Arizona.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't back him now at the 16s. But if he turned up on the day and he was Thames, I'd be happy to take that.
Good stuff. Let's move on to the King's Stand because for me this is one of the races of the week. Mabs Cross, Blue Point, Batash, Sergei Prokofiev, like anyone of them
Hell of a
wins the
race.
quality
Yeah,
win,
yeah.
isn't it?
Batash, if they all run their best race, Batash wins. That's the way I look at it. But at the prices, we spoke about it earlier, I think this is going to be a peak performance from Miko Lateral. A nice break since the Palace House. And the speed he showed there, like even when he was beaten, he's been beaten at a really short price and running the last twice. But I think that's getting used to sprinting. Takes a few runs, as we saw with Mabs Cross.
Stiff finish in Ascot helps too.
Yeah,
His running style.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's a very, very good sprinter that we haven't seen the best of yet. And I think he's been kind of missed in the market. James McDonald has been booked, and it surely is interesting that Charlie Hills is running him as well as Batash.
Considering he obviously knows where they're at with Batash. What are you, 2 to 1 the field here, Nicola?
Batash 15 to 8, Blue Point 3 to 1. I think we'll be looking to take on Batash. Just too inconsistent trust.
Yeah,
I
and there's
think.
no little C beside his name for Ascot either. So
Yeah,
that's...
Blue Point just loves the track, and I think will be my pick to retain the title.
Who wins the King's Stand, Juki?
I don't bet when Batash runs.
Okay.
Because if he runs bad, I'm just heartbroken because I backed him. And I mean, that effort in Haydock, he broke the clock in Haydock. The time lads, I mean, they're just trying to come up with new numbers for him after that. So, as David said, he's the best horse in the race. But he's not, he has, and as you said, he has Ascot worries. So I'll just sit in the fence. It's a good race to watch, isn't it?
It's a very, and it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long to
Yeah,
watch it
yeah,
either.
yeah.
You can get on right today. Right, quickly we'll get on to the St James's Palace Stakes. Juki, as you reminded us earlier, this is an absolutely unbelievable race. Phoenix of Spain, deserved favourite. Do you think he'll back up the Curragh?
Yes, I think he will. I mean, he had a progressive profile at 2. He looks to have progressed again. He's a grand, big, scopy horse, so that makes sense. He couldn't have been more impressive. He's tactically versatile. I just kind of 6 to 4. I could let him run at that again. I'm going to be sitting on the fence this one time.
Let him run at 6 to 4. Go on, give us a bet, Juki. That's what you do. Give us a bet in the race. Would you back Circus Maximus? Would you back King of Comedy?
No.
Well, then you back the favourite. Unless you're going to say
Yeah.
Too Darn Hot, who's held on form.
I back 2 down hot.
I'd back Too Darn Hot. But I'm just putting Juki on the spot because he's
I know it's terrible. You
Welshing
don't
on
want
me
people
here.
coming in here sitting on the fence, but it's a tough race, and I'll be happy to sit at 8.
Okay. You're a lot of sitting. Right, go on. You're with Too Darn Hot?
I think that I don't think there's enough evidence to suggest that Phoenix of Spain is that superior as the market suggests. Too Darn Hot wasn't himself at the Curragh, and Gosden has come out and spoke openly about Too Darn Hot this season. He's happier now with him than he has been. Obviously, he's going to say that, I know. But I think you will see the best performance from Too Darn Hot.
I think you have a point, though, because if you read between the lines, around the run-up to the Dante, in the run-up to the Curragh, it was very un-John Gosden-like.
It was.
It wasn't him. Quickly turning the horse around after he'd been the stable star, after he'd had an interrupted early season prep. It's just not his style. He just doesn't do that.
No.
And then the travelling arrangements getting to the Curragh were bizarre as well. The horse had no right to run a favourite's chance in that race given the prep he had.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think you'll see a different... It's probably... There's a nice little timeline between the 2 races as well. So he's had a little bit of a break. He's had his 2 runs. You'll see the best of Too Darn Hot here. I still think Scardu is underestimated. Was caught in the wrong part of the track, I thought, at the Curragh. And I think at the price of Scardu each way might be the bet. But Too Darn Hot is the most likely winner.
Yes, Scardu is interesting. We'll see how they go, but it's a fascinating race, isn't it?
Yeah, really good race.
Race of the week?
Nope.
Who's the race of the week?
Prince of Wales Stakes.
Prince of Wales.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okie doke.
Brilliant.
Right, that's our wrap for Ascot Tuesday. Any other you want to mention?
Yeah, I think Volgeist might win the Prince of Wales Stakes. Brilliant on its return to action at Longchamp, and I just think he's a type of horse that will be suited by the race. I think he's very good. Others later on in the week, we spoke about Ickworth early on the show. I think she's going to win the Queen Mary, and maybe a couple of others in the Coronation Stakes. Obviously, Hermosa is going to be very hard to beat. I think DXB will run very well in the Gold Cup, probably an each way play in that. And Lupe Fernandez in the Chesham is going to be very hard to beat as well. And that's about it.
Anything else later on in the week, Juki?
Just the Lope Fernandez.
The Lope Fernandez.
I've already mentioned Kew Gardens in the Gold Cup, and then Maybe a bit of a dark horse would be Key Victory in the Royal Hunt Cup, whose half brother came second in it, Blair House, after being gelded, and he's just been gelded as well. So
Whoa, that's good
Whoa.
research, Nicola.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry, I was just
You're up
wincing
Very
at the
hard,
gelding
but I
bit.
was up late last night.
You must be watching the golf.
and
Right, let's
Bombarded.
get on to our best bets then for Royal Ascot. Go on, give us a tricksy jiggy. Go.
Okay, I'll go Hazapur in the Queen Anne. I will go. Man, he might not run. I'll go Roy Lytham in the Coventry, and I'll go Lope Fernandez in the Chesham.
1 out of 3.
Kew Garden, or sorry, I said Kew Gardens. In the Queen Anne, Accidental Agents, Kew Gardens, and Key Victory.
Oh, 0 out of 3.
Go on.
I'll go Ickworth in the Queen Mary. I will go Volgeis in the Prince of Wales Stakes, and I'm going to go for Equilateral in the King's Stand at the prices.
Good stuff. I can't look past Mabs Cross in the King's Stand, to be perfectly honest. Solid as Bank of England, round about 5-1. Right, that's our lot for this week. We'll be back again next week with more What's the Word.